Why are students particularly vulnerable to surveillance and privacy violations?
Well, I think it's the combination of two things. Well, maybe even three. The first one is that kids are like the beta testers of surveillance. We start with surveillance technologies for prisoners and then asylum seekers and mental patients, and then we use kids. And then it goes to blue-collar workers and government workers and white-collar workers and then all of us. And so kids are really early in the adoption curve for surveillance. And a lot of what we do with kids to try and make them safe online also requires that we surveil them and means that we can't teach them good privacy habits. Like, if we want to stop kids from looking at porn, we think we have to look at every click that they make, which means that we can't teach them how to use proxies to keep their network traffic safe because that would defeat our porn filters. And then lastly, there's the problem that kids are not good at understanding risk yet because they're kids, right? We have this weird story about digital natives that says somehow being born after the turn of the millennium gives you intrinsic mystical knowledge about whether or not privacy is dead. I think it's much more likely that kids have yet to develop a good risk appreciation, just like kids for the entire history of the human race. And as a result, they engage in risky behavior. And that behavior includes things that end up redounding on their privacy later on in life.
And do you think there's a way for students to avoid this? Do you think it's maybe like an educational thing or?
Well, I think that we're up against the fact that all of the things that we can do to teach kids to be better at safeguarding their privacy, like using proxies, using cryptography, figuring out how their network is configured and tunneling out of it. All of those things run contrary to the primary safeguarding of kids in schools, which means that teachers can't teach it. And in fact, if they catch kids doing things to be more private, we're supposed to punish them. And so it's really tricky. What can teachers do apart from throwing up their hands and saying, oh, we just need better policies? And the only thing I've been able to think of is at least you could teach kids to catalog the deficits with this system so they can think critically about it, what's being underblocked, what's being overblocked, how is this interfering with their education, teach them to do freedom of information requests to figure out what companies are providing the services and how much their school boards are paying for it, learn how to research those companies, learn how to present that information effectively to your board, to your parent-teacher associations, to your government, so that at least you're teaching them to advocate for better policies, even as they labor under the bad ones.
Yeah, that was my next question. I was going to ask, where does the responsibility lie with educators, and teachers to be able to kind of stop this before it happens?
Well, I think that it would be unreasonable to think that teachers are going to risk their jobs by teaching kids to break the rules. I think that right now, the best we get out of teachers is they pretend not to see when the kids are breaking the rules, which is not a great answer to this. It doesn't end up teaching them because there's bad ways to protect your privacy, ways that, if you use random proxies you found on the internet, you're just letting someone else spy on you. And so what we really need is for teachers to teach good privacy hygiene, and everything you could do to teach good privacy hygiene might get you fired. And so I think that what we can do then is maybe teach kids why we can't teach them, so that at the very least, kids can be advocates for better policy in the future.
And a final question, what have you enjoyed most about your OEB experience?
Well, it's exciting to see so many educators who really care about how technology can transform their classes and their relationship to students to make learning more active, more personalized. For me, as someone who went through alternative schools where all the emphasis was on kids designing their own learning, it's great to see computers being tools that, rather than regimenting our learning, allow for much more customization and personalization.